Welcome back to Speed Street. It is mid-October. We have playoff baseball. We're in full swing of the NFL, college football. NASCAR, of course, is going on. We're going to be talking plenty about that, the playoffs, the chase there. Have plenty to recap over the weekend with our guy Conor Daly. We have off-season news about spring training, about driver news in IndyCar. We're not slowing down on Speed Street. No, we are not. Thanks for being with us, Joey Mulinaro here. And of course, my pal Conor Daly, driver of the number 20 Bit Nile ride in the NTT IndyCar series, and also the number 50 ride, also Bit Nile, that we saw over the weekend at the Roval and the Cup series. Conor Daly, how are we, my man? How are we feeling after this weekend?
You know what? Feeling great. It could have been more bad, I guess. But it was we accomplished several of our goals, which was finishing the race and not crashing in the race. Obviously, we crashed in practice. But yeah, pretty interesting weekend. I mean, there's so much to talk about, really, and obviously we can get into a lot of it. But it was an incredible experience to be a part of the NASCAR Cup Series. I would say overall, very different. Even the way kind of the weekends run, and the tech and the amount of work on the cars for some and not others, and it's just a different style of of racing, but it's great. So yeah, lot went on. Obviously I didn't get to actually watch the race because I was participating in it, so don't know how it looked. It seemed boring, but I think a lot of people rated it. I saw Jeff Gluck's rating system post race, and it was like the worst rated race ever. Not surprised. I joined the show, and it's a absolute disaster. But yeah, just kind of a lot to talk about through it. And Ben here, our producer, and a lot of our Dirty Mo folks were out there, and I appreciate everything that was done by them because I now have photographs, we got TikToks, we got videos. So Ben and your whole crew, Jason as well, what an incredible thank you guys for doing that, because that was I got great photographs, cool things to put up on the internet. I can send my lady photos of us hanging out, which I didn't have really as much before. So that's all very cool. So I appreciate that, Ben. What did you guys think of the whole weekend?
Ben, you were there. You had the boots on the ground, so you go ahead.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you kind of coming to let us kind of follow you as like the annoying little brother that just kind of shoved a camera in your face every like 5 minutes. So I had a lot of fun. It was my first time working a full cup weekend. I've done some Xfinity stuff in the past, and obviously it was in the 500 this year. So that was just a cool experience for me. It was just kind of cool seeing you take it in. I mean, all the drivers coming up and just giving you advice and shaking your hand, and you meeting people, and just getting all the content, of course. I loved that clip I got of you of after the driver intros. I was kind of following you to the truck, and I asked you how American you were feeling. You give probably the best response I could have asked for. So the whole weekend was great.
Yeah, it was
Who
something.
was, besides Corey, who is your favorite driver to talk to on the grid beforehand?
I mean, honestly, I actually didn't talk to Corey as much like on the grid. I talked to him a little bit before. But like before the race, I think Corey was being filmed for that USA show. So he didn't want to talk to me. I have a great video on my phone that I'm going to put on the TikToks here soon of like me. NASCAR has this really cool thing that I thought was interesting. It was called 1948. And it's basically like all the drivers have to go to this like big room that's full of the who's and what's of that race weekend. So whether it's like, celebrities that are there, or team sponsors, or whoever it is, and they had the trophy for the race there, and a cool lady announcing what's going on, and all the drivers have to go. So Corey, I could tell, was being filmed for the USA show race for championship or whatever, because he's a big superstar, and he was just some big WWE or wrestling guy. I have no idea. And so they were just talking there, and I almost went up to him, saw the giant camera filming him, and I walked right away. And then I just recorded this video of kind of the whole room, stopped at him. He looked over at me with a very stern look, and I just kept going. That was it. So I had a very interesting interaction with the television superstars there. But yeah, that whole room was quite cool because, again, I think that the drivers hate it because they obviously are about to race, but they have to go and interact for a little bit before driver intros. But I thought it was cool because not only do they have a bar there, which obviously, we're not drinking, but I can get a water before the race, like before we go to driver intros, get whatever you want. It's like shaded. It's a nice area.
They have a better pisser than a porta potty?
No piss. I didn't see a pisser. So we didn't get any pissers yet. I don't know. But yeah, kind of cool. Like interacted with some folks that had no idea who I was. There's some people that came up to me and they were like, "Hey man, this is really cool. This is our first NASCAR race." And I said, "Yeah, mine too." And they're like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, no, it's my first race." And they were like, "Oh, who are you?" I was like, "Well, my name's Conor and I do IndyCar stuff." And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's wild." And so had some very, very funny interactions like that. But also there were some people who didn't know who I was. So that was cool. But yeah, got to have a great chat there with Cole Custer, Chase Briscoe. Had some, just some funny interactions with those guys. Because again, after they saw how practice went for me, which didn't go well at all, we only got 5 laps. I was really in search for a lot of information. So yeah, interesting pre-race activities. And again, we can dive into all that stuff too. But did you get to watch the race at all, Joey, or were you busy down wherever you were doing things?
Yeah, it was a full weekend for me. I was down in Dallas, a lot of traveling, busy doing a campaign with Aflac.
The Duck. Did you get to meet the Duck
out there? Got to meet the Duck. Got to meet the Aflac Duck. They're very, very strong, stern on calling it the Aflac Duck. So Aflac Duck was super cool. We kind of posed for some photos. I was, sometimes I think I confused it with a goose, I think geese are kind of more aggressive. And
classic mix-up.
So when I was going to pet, when I was going to pet the Aflac Duck, I was a little hesitant because I've seen, somewhere before that a goose, maybe a duck, I have no idea, can kind of get a little snippy. But I did get to slightly pet the Aflac Duck. It was super cool. Aflac brought me down there and did a fun campaign with them at the House of the Unexpected. Then I got to go to the Red River Rivalry, and if you thought your Saturday went bad, it was nowhere near as bad as Oklahoma's. They were down. They were down 28-0 at halftime. They got blown out 49-0 against their rivals. It was a disaster scene there, and I was sitting on the Oklahoma side, me and my brother-in-law. So people were down bad, man. They were down bad big time. But hell of a time in Dallas. I was following through the internet for your weekend, and you mentioned Saturday did not go well. Did not go well for you. So where are you mentally once you get out of the car for those 5 laps or so, and you're like, okay, I gotta get things somewhat right going into Sunday? I mean, where was your mind there? What was going through your body and your mind at that time?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's get right into it. There, no matter what, it's a tough weekend for everyone if you don't start in the right place because there's only 20 minutes of practice, right? And it's separated into 2 groups. So thankfully, we were group 2. And as Ben saw, our car barely made it to practice. Like we were trying to pass Tech. We had failed Tech twice. Things changed during the season, and obviously my team was a part-time team. And so there are a few things that we didn't know had changed. There was a few things that weren't lining up correctly for us. And so we were the last car in the garage area. Everyone is out in pit road. Everyone's practicing. The first practice group is out on track. We're group 2. If we were group 1, I would have never got practice at all. But we were group 2, thankfully. And so, again, right out the gate, the weekend is starting chaotic, and it's sad that it has to go like that. But I really didn't expect anything less. And so I'm getting in the car and I'm talking to the Tech official, who Jeff Green, the Tech guy, very nice guy to me. Honestly, the NASCAR folks, the officials, were super welcoming to me there. And I have to give them a lot of, incredible people. They were helping me out with whatever I needed help with, telling me everything, even helping strap me in at one point, like trying to get ready for practice. So fired that sucker up for the first time just to kind of drive out to the grid to get going. And yeah, I mean, we kind of just had to start somewhere and got out there, did a few laps. Wasn't really, I was picking up on a few things, but not quite there yet. It's so hard to, be thrust out there immediately with, everyone who is obviously at a way higher level of experience immediately. And, I tried to keep up with a few folks, but tried to also just get some clear track and do laps. And I was like, all right, did a few laps, let's say 5. Let's come into the pits, let's bring the tire pressures down a little bit because I thought the tires had started to overheat just slightly. And let's go again. And so I was literally pitting on the lap that I was one turn from the pit lane, and coming out of the last chicane, I'm obviously accelerating to go up on the banking, and I completely lose the ability to steer. Imagine if you're in your car and you have your little power steering, you're turning left and right. Imagine if that just went completely away and you could spin the wheel like a top in your hands. Like if you go to an arcade, right? And you go to those really awful racing games and you can just spin the wheel left and you can spin the wheel right, like that old school dirt game at the 16-bit arcade bar over there in Indianapolis. It's the same thing. So the wheel was completely inoperable. And so obviously we went in the wall because I couldn't steer or anything like that. And so that immediately I was like, well, this sucks because if it was my fault, then I'm an idiot. But when, the only thing that makes you feel slightly better is that, like, look, I couldn't do anything about that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was,
that's gotta be so frustrating. Right. I mean, yeah, because then, for all the dummy, for all the people out there, for all the people out there who are just, watching and not thinking about everything that goes on behind the scenes, they're looking and saying, oh, Conor Daly into the wall, right? Like that reflects on you as a driver for a lot of people, unfortunately, when it's just not the case.
Well, exactly. And that's the most annoying thing, right? Because again, the thing that we wanted to do most with the weekend is not appear on television. And sure enough, here we are causing a yellow flag in practice.
First thing Corey talked about.
Yeah, we're in the wall. I'm getting out of this freaking car. Can barely understand how to get out of it. And having to go to the medical center, doing brain tests already because there's a lot of brain bad things that are happening in the NASCAR Cup Series. But yeah, the sad part about it was it just the team had already been working all morning on just getting the car legal enough to go out on the track, and now it's broken. And sadly, it was. There's no need to get into what actually happened. There was something that was not correct in the steering system, causing the steering to not be operable. So steering, important, need that to drive. And so after that, obviously, thankfully, the bodies on these cars are super tough. So thankfully, we didn't have to replace fenders or anything. We just basically replaced the stickers. We had some suspension damage, so we had to replace the right side suspension. There was a little bit of stuff that had to be done on the engine side. I guess the impact was enough to damage one of the oil, something to do with the oil system down there. So it was a lot of work for the guys, sadly. And it just goes to show you as well, the way these NASCAR weekends are run, right? Qualifying right after practice and then the Xfinity race. So if you have an issue in practice, you're kind of screwed already for the rest of the day. So we didn't obviously get to qualify. I go out there, try to watch it, see a little bit of stuff here and there, but it's just, it's like the amount of laps that we did was literally just wetting your whistle. You know what I mean? It's just this tiny amount where I knew something, but I was like, wow, I wish I could have just done one more run. You know what I mean? Just one more run, just something. So that definitely was tough. It means that we start absolutely last for my first Cup race ever, 39th. I don't think I've ever started that bad ever in anything. But yeah, made for an interesting Saturday. Got some very interesting texts, just like what happened. And thankfully, the internet dummies that we talk about, thankfully, people did eventually discover, like, okay, yeah, you can't just drive straight into the wall. I don't care if you don't know who I am at all. No one's just driving straight into the wall. So thankfully, we got that stuff taken care of, and then just basically tried to go eat some food and show up on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, so going into that 39th, is there kind of a relief of pressure? You're like, hey, only can go up from here.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole attitude. Like, we had a big sponsor dinner that night, Saturday night, with all the Bit Nile folks, and again, we had to thank Todd and all of his guys and his group, because they're the only reason that this is happening, and they're super supportive the whole time. Todd came up to me after the after the crash, and he was like, "Man, all you got to do is just keep turning left. What happened?" And I obviously immediately trying to joke with me, which I get. It's easy to joke about. Got to turn left. But yeah, we had a great dinner. Talked about a lot of stuff that could happen in the future. What's going on. We love NASCAR. We love IndyCar. But yeah, it was tough to line up. At the very, very back Sunday, but still, you're in the race. We're there. We're ready to go. And it was still very cool. You know what I mean? Like waking up for that race morning. Again, our guys were allowed into the garage earlier than anyone else because we still had work to do to finish up on the car. We had to pass tech. We had to get everything, sorted out with the car. And to be fair, they did a great job. It looked great. It looked like it hadn't crashed at all. We'd got a new splitter, everything that we needed. And we rolled out to the grid to just see what happened. So tough situation overall. But yeah, I mean, getting right into the race, we basically just had to go for it. I mean, first stint, thankfully, is a stage. So we know when it's going to go yellow, which basically that whole entire first stage was practice for me, right? We're practice. We also had to start, which Tony told me yesterday when I called him, we actually had to start on some used tires that we got randomly from other people because I guess we couldn't start on new tires for some reason. So we were starting on old tires for some reason, which again, not familiar with the rules, don't know how it all works. But the first stint was tough for me. But again, just put the laps away. And could tell kind of who was good initially, could tell who wasn't maybe as quick, who we wanted to get around first. But yeah, from then on, it was all right, let's make our first pit stop and let's go on from there. So it was there's a lot. I mean, I can still get it. I mean, I can take it stage by stage because after stage one, it starts getting all kinds of chaotic.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at what point were you in the car, spinning laps and you're like, wow, did you take a moment? Hey, I'm driving a cup car here. We're NASCAR racing right here.
Yeah. I think as soon as I got onto the banking of 1 and 2, oval 1 and 2, it was pretty cool. Cause again, you had all the cup cars in line and everyone's on the banking. Everyone's struggling for a little bit of grip because the banking was actually harder than I expected. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, especially on kind of colder tires. So it was just cool to see all these big, heavy cars and loud, fast cars, going after it. And it was awesome. And right out the gate, that was a moment for me where I was like, hey, this is cool. I like the sequential gearbox as well. I love pulling gears. It felt nice to, I even got hand blisters again, thankfully, because we're doing work. No more flappy paddle gearboxes. But yeah, once we got into it, stage one, all right, cool. We did our pit stop again, pit lane. That was the first time I'd ever even entered pit lane ever. Like I had never seen the pit entry until like the pace lap of the race when we all went through for the first time. So that was a real challenge. And we had to pit kind of in a bit of a tight area because we had a car in front of us, car behind us. My guys did a great job. We made our first pit stop. And again, I messed up in the gearbox with like the pit stop because I'm used to going to neutral for the pit lane, and I didn't need to go to neutral. I needed to stay in first gear, and so it took us a little bit of time in the first stop because the gearbox does not like to go back into first gear when you're sitting still. So that was interesting. But again, got right back out. I was like, all right, let's go, let's do restart. It's time to get close. It's after stage one, I said, all right, I really want to be. This is now where I would like to start attacking or start moving forward. And we did have that opportunity. After the first stage, I think we started to get by JJ Yaley. I think we started to get by the 27 car as well. Loris Hezemans, who I met, a nice guy, Dutch guy like my teammate Renus. And yeah, just started working away. And the whole race, I'm trying to tune my brake bias in a little bit because I think locking the front brakes is very bad. And we obviously, they haven't run the road course, a car on the road course, my team, since COTA. And things change very differently as the season goes on, depending on what brakes you're using. And so we had a lot of front bias in the car, which I did not like. And so I kept tuning to the rear, but had a little bit of a front lockup. And I actually have no idea when our first puncture came. I don't know if it was, I think it was in the second stage. But what happened was JJ Yaley in front of me made a little bit of a mistake in the final chicane. He missed the first apex, and I was right behind him getting ready to pass him. And so he had to climb up over the crazy curbs and missed it. And I went around him on the outside. And as soon as I got back up onto the banking, boom, the tire just shredded and exploded. So I think we actually got some debris on the tire because there was a lot of offline debris there. But again, when you're just trying to drive along and all of a sudden this thing goes pop and your hood starts peeling apart, you're like, goodness gracious, what's happening here? And in IndyCar, if something like that happens, like you're probably pretty much done. But in the NASCAR Cup Series, you can keep going with a lot of different damage. So, I didn't know what was broken. I didn't know what had ripped off. But again, we immediately had to pit because obviously you don't want that tire to completely rip off the fender. And thankfully, it had only gone through part of the hood. But again, we had to spend some time in the pits. They had to put some tape on it. And again, we luckily got back out, though, like to run kind of by ourselves. And by the end of the second stage, we actually weren't a lap down. So we had somehow cycled forward on the strategy because we kind of did like a false undercut and cycled back forward to where we weren't a lap down. So that was quite nice. And then obviously the second stage, we come into the pits and we're doing the full repair job. We got the hacksaws out. We got those big things that you saw wood with, and there's like all these electric saws. And I'm just having a
tape,
a lot of tape, big
sparks
tape.
flying.
Yeah, sparks were flying. Yeah, with tape. And the fact that, I got to see that as part of my first Cup race as well is par for the course. Understandable, but hilarious. I honestly would love to know what they were cutting because they were doing some serious work in there, and I didn't know what was coming out of that thing. So thankfully, they got her all patched up, and basically, started fresh for the third stage, for the long third stage. And so after that, I was like, all right, I feel better now. We had made the car better. Tony Uri Jr., my crew chief, he had helped out. We got the tire pressures where we needed. We started tuning on the chassis a little bit, and every run we got better. And Ben, did you watch it? Were you watching in the pit lane, or were you kind of going all over the place to see kind of the stages from different areas?
I spent most of the race. I think I started in the beginning in the media center. I was cutting some footage together, and then once that ended, I pretty much stayed. Kind of went to the backstretch. There's kind of this access road. It's kind of in between the backstretch and that. Out of like the two right-handers, kind of the backstretch of the infield. I was there doing photos, kind of went around, and I think you're probably about to get to this. I think probably right around when I noticed when you had your little fire, I was kind of keeping track of what cars you're running around, and I was like, Connor hasn't come around in a little bit, and I'm like checking my phone, trying to check the scoring and everything, and I get a text from Jason, and he's like, Yeah, Connor's on fire. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, the funny thing was, as soon as we started the third stage, I think we had made our car like quite a bit better, and we were in a position to attack. Like Mike Rockenfeller, who I think is a really good driver, obviously sports car driver, Le Mans guy, big time factory Audi guy for a long time, I think. He was in that 77 car, and I had finally, once stage 3 started, I was like, okay, we got JJ. I think we got the 78 as well. And then wanted to pass Mike Rockefeller. And I knew now, I was like, all right, this guy's been doing a few races. He's obviously new into this as well. But yeah, I passed Mike. And after that, there was some traffic or something had happened in the final chicane in front of us. And I had smoked the left front really badly. And again, I had thought I had put enough rear bias in this thing to where it was fine. I don't know if it was the tires were not up to temperature yet or not, but realistically, it is my mistake, right? I hadn't locked up a tire like that in this car ever before because I don't have any experience doing it. So that left front lasts for about the rest of the lap. And I, again, get to the exact same place. I don't know what it is about the last chicane. What I think it is when you go that initial left and that hard right, if I smoke the left front, then I put a bunch of load in the left front and it just delaminates. It's not able to hold it together. And so again, left front explodes. And I immediately have to pit after I just made the progress that I wanted to make. And so now we're kind of off, again, I'm thinking we're going for a wild giant undercut here because if we pit, get new tires, do a bunch of quick laps, maybe it'll work out for us. But about halfway through that next stint, I see smoke in the car, and I don't know why that is. I'm looking at it in the banking, and then I'm seeing an actual flame, and I'm like, well, that's not good. Because where there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, I think that's in the Bible. But there was this flame, and then it kind of went away. But then it started flaming again, and then it went away. And I was like, well, I'm on fire, but is it bad? And do I stop? And you go through that weird mental roller coaster, which sounds dumb because if you see a fire, usually as a human being, you're like, I put fire out, or like I do or something of that nature. And I can't do anything because I can't reach the fire. I can't do anything with my hands because I'm busy driving, trying to stay on track. And so obviously, having seen the fires that I've seen in the Cup Series this year, right? We've seen some crazy fires, big flames, big explosive fires. I was like, I should probably pit. And so again, have to make an extra pit stop. Come in. I try to tell the guys where it's at. It's under the rear view camera that we have, which is basically like the new rear view mirror. And so we get our guys getting in there with snips and chopsticks, whatever they got going on in there, and start hacking stuff apart again. And so we figure out what, it's an electrical fire. So there was 2 wires had, I guess, come undone or something had happened, and they were basically just igniting. And so we got rid of those, and which also meant we got rid of my rear view camera, which meant that I could not see anything except what was in front of me. So tough. The rear view camera, honestly, on that new Cup car, great. It's even better than the rear view camera that you have on your road car. If you got one of those, if you're backing up, whatever it is.
I was gonna say, so you can parallel park one of those bad boys?
Oh yeah, parallel parking is fantastic with this camera. Nice. I was a huge fan of it because you could see not only could you see at the back, but you could also see like what was to the left and right. So it was nice. No more of that. Couldn't see anything. Thankfully, we had spotters. But yeah, once that happened, that now we're a few laps down because that we had to obviously fix that. But realistically, the next stint, like if I'm going to just go into this race and kind of talk about it, like I guess I did kind of want to explain a lot of these things for the folks that kind of did, because again, we didn't get a ton of TV coverage, obviously, because we're running freaking 34th or whatever, 35th, and whatever it is. But yeah, we once we got out of the pits right there, obviously we had fresh tires. Some people had older tires because they had been running already, but we got out in the middle of a pack. Like I actually came out right behind Chase Briscoe, which is hilarious. One of my good friends. It was a pack of like Chase Briscoe, me, and actually, I think I might have done this wrong, but either way, I blew a tire after. Yeah, never mind. It was the fire first and then another tire. So consider this as fire first, then another tire later, because I had the tire happen when I was in the middle of this pack. So we had Chase in front of me. Chase then passed Martin Truex Jr., who was in front of him. And then behind us was the 6 car, Brad Keselowski, who obviously one of the spotters on the Door Bumper Clear show, which is a fellow Dirty Mo Media production. They had said that I was in front of them on their show most recently. I only started listening to Door Bumper Clear after they had started throwing some shade at me for my NASCAR career, which understandably so. Why be friendly to the open wheel guy coming to the NASCAR Cup Series? Anyway, I respect all of them. But they had said Brad was stuck behind me. I was like, no, because I was stuck behind Martin. So if you could have passed me, then they should have passed me. But I had Martin right in front of me too. So it was basically a line of cars and no one could pass. Obviously, the race was super boring because no one could pass. We had Chase, we had Martin, we had me, and then Brad, and then I think the 24 car, William Byron, another car behind us as well. Ty Gibbs was back there, and no one could do anything. So again, that was actually a fun stint for me to learn what was happening, like what these guys were doing. Like Truex was struggling. Like I saw him massively sideways, almost half spinning in front of me at one point. But it was nice to be in that pack. I felt like I learned a lot from those guys. And again, if they were as fast as the Door Bumper Clear guys said they were, they should have passed me. But I didn't want to get in anyone's way. And I wasn't at that time because I had fresher tires on anyway. So I knew that I wasn't really going to be much slower than those guys. And again, then the tire blew. And then I got out of that pack and then ran by myself. So hard to remember because these races are super long. It felt like an eternity. Like, honestly, that race was actually as long on my Whoop wristband, my heart rate monitor. It was as long as the Indy 500 was, if not longer. So crazy overall. And, you know, Joey, do you think that I don't know. There's a lot.
I wanted to just ask after, you know, the whole rundown, the whole weekend, Saturday, Sunday here, what would you grade yourself in your first Cup experience?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like, you could go into details all day. I could explain every stint, every lap, whatever, but that's the gist of it. We ran with quick guys, which I thought was fun. And when I got out behind Allmendinger, when I came out after the fire, that was when I was behind Allmendinger, and then eventually cycled through, ended up with those other quick guys too. That was my favorite part of the race, was running with the quick guys. So when AJ was there, I saw AJ after the race, and he's like, man, you ran me down a little bit there. I said, well, I was just trying to learn. It's fine. I was on a little fresher tires, whatever. But it was kind of getting behind those guys because, again, the guys at the back, also very good. Everyone very good, but you know the guys with the established names that have been there for a long time were great. And I think, honestly, we did well for what we had, for the car that we had. Obviously, a part-time team. We did all the laps. We did make it to the end. Yes, things failed. Yes, things broke. But realistically, like the core pieces of the car, the chassis, the engine, you know, that stuff was reliable. We did our fastest lap on lap 90 of the race, which is towards the end. You know, that means we were putting in work all day long. And, you know, from a lot of the stuff that I had heard from Tony, you know, Tony Eury Jr., he was very happy with it. He said for a long time, you know, we were running laps, you know, in the top 15 pace wise. And it was, you know, it was very satisfying to do that. So obviously if we end up on the lead lap towards the end of that race, we have the opportunity to make up a ton because the entire race changed once the last two restarts happened because everyone just started wrecking everyone. And that was something that I have never seen before in my life. it was like I had entered another event. It was like I went from a NASCAR Cup race to a Supercross event, like all of a sudden, where everyone was jumping around, going crazy, smoke flying, pieces of car. I would be driving around corners on this restart. My spotter's like, "Yep, there's a car off to your right, car off to your left," and I'm like, "Oh, here they all are." It was madness. I mean, those NASCAR restarts at the end are something special. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I saw. I mean, the drama at the end that saw Chase Briscoe eliminate Kyle Larson, right? I mean, that came from that.
Yeah, the funniest thing about that was too, Chase had like got put off in I think that first restart or something like that, and he ended up coming back on track behind me. And the 99 Suarez was obviously dealing with some issues, right? And so on that restart, I had passed the 99 because he was going slow. And then all of a sudden Chase had come up behind me and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to let Chase by here. But then the 99 had started racing the 14 into the next corner. And I was like, wait a second, aren't you broken? And so I end up in this awful position where I'm in front of these two cars in the playoffs going too wide. And Chase was the only one who hit my rear bumper the entire day because I was like trying to get out of his way. And he just went straight into the back of me. And he eventually obviously got the 99 because the 99 was broken. But I was like, man, wait, was the 99 trying to wreck the 14 right in front of me or like right behind me? Or was I being used as potentially a pick here? I don't know. It was a wild scenario. But again, completely different racing style from the entire first 9,500 laps than those last two restarts. It was almost like, let's just hit everyone. And I found that fascinating. It was really cool to actually just be a part of and watch. And I text Chase afterwards I was like, hey man, I didn't mean to get in your way there. I thought the 99 was already gone. And he was like, yeah, I don't know what the heck happened there. It was all good. And I said, yeah, clearly it was good because he lunged everyone the next restart and made it into the playoff the next round.
Yes, sir. Chase Briscoe moving on to the final 8, man. Gotta love it. That's NASCAR though, baby. You mentioned those last restarts are bumping, you're swinging, everything's going down fighting. But yeah,
we even had a red flag. Like even the red flag, I was like, what? We're coming to a stop. I was like, right. Can we not just get this thing over with already? I was like, geez.
Nope. Keep it going. The longer the race, the longer the race, the better. And NASCAR. Full weekend for you though, man. That's awesome. Congrats. Proud of you, happy for you. Hope that it leads to more opportunity in the future to be able to get you behind the wheel in one of those again. Because hey, you know, you do IndyCar full time, but Conor Daly is just a race car driver, man. Yeah,
and to the door bumper clear guys as well. I know they said I wasn't going to make it very far, which they were right. We only made it 5 laps in practice, but we did finish the race, which again I think they also forgot in their most recent episode. So thank you to you guys for your support. Appreciate that. Means a lot to have that type of, inner workforce support. I know you guys are spotting for cool people, and I did stay out of everyone's way, didn't cause any activities, any absurd activities, and we were fast at one point. So yeah, it is what it is. Maybe we'll get another chance, and they can continue to throw some shade at the number 50 car or any other car that we might get in.
That's just their way of showing affection. It means they like it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. A lot of them were nice. Some of them not as much, which I understand. I'm a novice here.
Gotta love the in-house support. Yeah, that's great. Appreciate that. Well, like I mentioned, Chase Briscoe knocks out Kyle Larson. You talked to Kyle Larson on the grid, you said, before the race. And I want to get your thoughts, the details, the inner workings of what happened there, because we saw over the weekend as well that Kyle Larson's going to be given the opportunity to seek opportunities to run the Indianapolis 500. You asked him about it. What's the verdict?
Yeah, no, it was actually really cool to talk to Kyle before the race. Had a great chat about everything, kind of what I was feeling in this car, and what was going on the IndyCar side. And yeah, I mean, basically the only thing he said to me is, right, he's got permission to do it, which is great. And he wants to do it. And I said, look, man, the cars are safe. It's not an issue of safety. Like, it's just a matter of, getting in the right place, the right time. And, I hope we can make the cars a little bit better to race in as well. because he kind of said the same thing. He's like, man, it looks like it's hard to pass. And I said, well, yeah, it's not exactly what it used to be. But yeah, he said there was a lot of similar things with their new Cup car as well on the ovals, where dirty air is just extremely aggressive, and it's tough. But yeah, great chatting with Kyle. Honestly, a lot of the guys there too. It was great to interact with. I had not really met Kevin Harvick before, right? And I look at him because we actually IndyCar and NASCAR, we kind of use the same driver intro stage. It might actually be the exact same one, or at least the same production group who does it. And so Kevin Harvick's sitting there, and I just, a couple of the guys had asked me like, "Oh, what happened yesterday? What's going on?" And I just look over at Kevin. I said, "Hey, Kevin, big fan of what you've been doing on the Twitters lately. I respect what you got going on." So I had to get that in on him because he's been quite funny to follow on Twitter lately with all the drama going on. But yeah, lots of great interaction. A lot of questions about the IndyCar, right? Like the people, a lot of the drivers wonder, what's, how it does here, how it does there, certain tracks, road courses, ovals. And, it was just kind of cool to get that type of respect and that type of, conversation started. Cause like, again, I'd love to see a lot of those guys, get in and give it a shot. And obviously there are only a couple that are probably willing to do it, but yeah, good interactions for sure.
Where would Larson possibly fit in?
I don't know.
In the Indy 500 seat.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it obviously has to be a Chevy. So who's going to run them? Is it going to be McLaren? Is it going to be Penske? Is it going to be, us? I don't know. I don't think we can run 4 cars, but but we'll see. I'm very, very curious to basically stay tuned for what happens on the Indy 500 front. Certainly with Kyle Busch as well. Obviously with Kyle Busch, they said that wasn't going to happen, but then I heard a bunch of rumors over the weekend about, who might support Kyle and the sponsor for it. And that sponsor might lead to a certain team. And it was very interesting, I would say.
Okay. So
yeah, the rumor mill is
Kyle and
quite,
Kyle.
Yeah. Yes.
Very interesting.
A lot of rumors running around that paddock about who's going where with what sponsors. And, it's going to be interesting.
Good. I love it. That makes it more spicy for us.
Very spicy.
Some more
a lot
IndyCar
of spice
news.
ahead.
A lot of spice. More IndyCar news. Since we recorded last, we found out that Santino Ferrucci is going to be joining the series full-time in 2023. Going to be going with AJ Foyt, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everyone's favorite news. You guys all text me that morning, and I didn't see it until you guys had texted me. And I mean, great. I don't see how this. I sort of feel bad for AJ Foyt Racing because I know that they were trying to go somewhere and don't know if this is the answer for them. But again, have always said Santino is a talented driver, so he knows how to pilot a vehicle. They also have a rookie teammate there in Benjamin Peterson, who I like. I see at the gym every day. Good kid. Tough situation there. We all know my opinion. Don't care about it at all, but good for them, I guess. And I heard that he brought a lot of money to that situation, but you know what? So did I to my situation. So we're kind of in the same boat.
Does this feel like, good that we're getting kind of the black hat wearer full time? We're getting the guy that rubs people the wrong way full time here?
Absolutely. Why not? If he can cause more accidents, that'll probably help our TV ratings. And if he can make more drivers angry, then that'll probably, get more TV ratings, because I got a lot of interesting texts from a lot of different drivers, and a lot of us are on the same page. So we'll just say that.
Love it. That's good. Spice it up. Keep it
spicy. Again, we respect the talent. We respect it. We do. But and again, like Dale Jr. said, he's invited to all the parties because everyone is invited. Everyone is invited to the after parties. Probably not going to hang out with him.
I was going to say, yeah, we get round 3 of the after party at 2023 Indy 500. Looking forward to that.
Yep. He can go do his own shots at tequila, and I'll do mine.
Okay.
The time for a TV show's never been better, though.
Exactly.
Yes.
What a great idea to have an IndyCar television show. Who would have thought? If I saw a magic genie and that genie had his little bottle there that I had to rub for 3 wishes, one of them would be for an IndyCar television show. So that would be immediately what happens.
What would the other 2 be?
Well, that's a great question, Joey. I think right out the gate, I want 100 acres on an island. I want an island.
Okay. Screw the acres.
An island with the plane. And then let's do number 3. We can please the people.
Whoa. The plane comes with the island? Wouldn't that be
Obviously.
3?
No. The plane is on the island. Like again, I'm not going to build on the island. This is like a fully already established. It's been terraformed or whatever you call it if you go to other planets. And then, wish number 3. Let's, fix poverty for everyone. I don't know. We'll do that. We'll do something that helps everyone.
Being the nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Look at you showing some empathy.
Exactly.
Hey, good on you.
Let's cure diabetes. Actually, that's my third wish. Let's fix that stupid thing.
Cool. Good CSR program.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, we're recording on Wednesday like we usually do. Last night, we had the news from Dalton Kellett himself that he is taken off from AJ Foyt. What's your kind of reaction to Dalton's news from Tuesday?
I mean, honestly, nice guy. Smart guy. He's got a great family. I like his parents, always nice people, always there support people. His lady, nice person. Everyone, I see them walking their dog downtown Indianapolis every now and then.
Nice.
Yes, but you know what? I think sometimes it's a tough situation to say overall, but maybe it's just time to go sports car racing. I don't know, because I think Dalton has had some races recently where I'm like, hey, that was impressive. But like, we obviously know that, he's come from some money, which is great. He got his way to IndyCar, which is, again, great. If you can do it. But yeah, I think there are some moments that he can be proud of. He was not a crash festival. That's always important, right? But I would say you can look back on your time in IndyCar and say, hey, we gave it a respectful try. But hey, you know what? Maybe there's another arena where we can be, even more successful in and enjoy ourselves. So who knows?
Okay, so you think he's going to keep driving? You think he's going to keep driving just in a different series, different kind of car?
I could see him go sports car racing right out the gate for sure. I mean, we see guys like Gabby Chavez doing well in sports cars. He won at the Petit Le Mans. Several other IndyCar drivers, Jack Hawksworth, have been sports car racing and very successful. So yeah, I could see him. I can see him easily slotting into a great sports car team. Getting himself a great opportunity to go do the 12 hours of Sebring, 24 hours of Daytona, Le Mans, even whatever it is. And potentially getting a lot out of that. So who knows? Or who knows? Maybe he pulls a hard left and goes NASCAR racing. I don't know.
All right. Future's wide open for Dalton Kellett there. Like you said, smart guy.
The future is open. And again, the good part for him is that he's obviously driven a lot of cars now, right? A lot of race cars. He's been in IndyCar. And you know what? There's no way around this, but he's got some funding behind him, which is great. And so if you got funding behind you, you can do anything. It was like I told people this weekend in NASCAR, I didn't get selected to do this race because people thought I could drive. I had a sponsor, and BitNile, great supporter of ours, and they provided the opportunity for me. So again, you can do anything you want as long as you pay for it.
Yeah. Put it on a shirt. There it is.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially in racing.
Exactly.
And then we had you said we kind of knew that it was coming. We had talked about it before a little bit, but Palm Springs and out there in February, correct?
Yes.
Little spring training action for IndyCar.
Little spring training in Palm Springs. Now,
you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a lot of good weather, a lot of good drinks for me, and a lot of golf when I'm not watching cars go.
Yeah, I don't understand the point of it, honestly. I don't get it at all because it doesn't represent any racetrack that we're going to race at. So maybe just a couple days for the Penske executive team out there to have a nice time at Palm Springs. I don't know. But again, maybe we do a race there in the future. Maybe we don't. I had heard that actually Thermal doesn't want the public there. So again, I don't know how they could ever have a race there. But again, if there is anything that financially helps the teams, then I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Because if for some reason, IndyCar is helping pay people salaries with this, or helping to maybe hire more people to help out, that's great. So that's what I'm a fan of. I'm going to go there and test, and I'm going to have a great time because I love Palm Springs. I've been to Thermal before. I've enjoyed driving there. It's a beautiful facility. I don't think we're going to be able to stay at the Airbnbs that are there because they're like minimum $1,000 a night. But I hope there's a La Quinta maybe by. I don't know. Maybe there's a Holiday Inn Express, which the poor people can stay at.
Hey,
which is me. That'll be me.
Never had a bad night at a Holiday Inn or a La Quinta.
Yeah,
no way, man.
Tell me about it.
La Quinta Inn, they got great breakfast.
I was gonna say Continental all
solid.
Holiday Inn, big cinnamon rolls, all good, man. Cool with that. Give me free breakfast, I'll stay anywhere, man. I'll stay out on the street. I don't give a shit.
Hey, let's be honest. If hotels have a great breakfast program, I mean, it's almost life changing. Because if you get down there, you woken up, you've not slept in your bed, but there's fresh coffee, you get some eggs, maybe a well prepared biscuit. Who knows? Like there's certain things that just make you small time happy when you're always on the road.
Here's the make or breaker when it's a great hotel breakfast. 1, free.
Yes.
2,
yes.
2, if it has one of those luxurious waffle makers where you pour the batter into it and then it comes down, you flip it over, it gets out. That's it. That's all you need. All you need right there. Fresh cup of coffee. You're good to go. Maybe we can get Mike and old Dale Jr. to send us out to Palm Springs in February, do a little Dirty Mo Speed Street content all out on the golf course. Like I said, for me and when Conor's not out, driving and everything like that. Maybe
it's an exciting
you're
thought.
There, get work on it. I'm just saying.
It's an exciting thought.
What else you want to get to, man?
Well, one segment I would like to get to is text from NASCAR drivers.
Please, I'm also interested.
I would like to share some messages that I got from the community, and one is I was at dinner Saturday night, and Jimmie Johnson texted me. Obviously NASCAR driver, but also IndyCar driver, and he basically, the first message, he said, "How was it?" And he had not seen that the steering had failed and I had hit the wall. And I explained that to him, and he just said, "Welcome to NASCAR. Make sure the steering assembly is tight." And I said, apparently that is important. Then this is what I thought was the best text message that Jimmie Johnson had said to me. He said, "I just saw the video. Looked like you were drunk and didn't want to turn the wheel." So thank you, Jimmie. That is exactly what it looked like. Appreciate the support.
Just a little constructive criticism.
Exactly. Constructive. And then obviously after I said, haha, very, very funny, whatever, blah, 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 he responded with, again, this is a very nice text message. He followed it up. He said, "Have fun tomorrow, man. Watch out for turn 6. It's easy to run wide on the double apex with the tire deg and end up off track." And then he said, "Rough those fellas up, draw blood first." So again, love that type of aggression. That's probably why he's won 7 championships and I have not won any. So again, respect that from Jimmie.
Always cool to get a text from Jimmie Johnson.
It was very cool, honestly. Anytime I see that name pop up on my phone, I'm like, this feels like a special day. Chase Briscoe, obviously after the race, he said, "So what did you think?" And I explained several different things. He said, "Did you have fun?" And I said, once I got through some stuff, it was fun." And then he said, "You can't pass. It sucks." I was like, "Yeah, that's tough either." And then I said, "No yellows either. I thought you guys wrecked a bunch." He said, "We did at the end like idiots." And then he said, "Did you get moved by anyone other than me?" Which obviously He knew that he had tried to move me out of the way. And I think he loved the fact that I only told him that he is the only one who moved me, which is true. So great friend of the show, Chase Briscoe, was the only one who used his front bumper on my rear bumper.
So classic dad of Chase Briscoe. Did you have fun, buddy?
Yeah. It is a very, very classic dad move.
Yeah, can't tell he has a 1-year-old.
Exactly. Corey LaJoy also sent a very nice text about how my experience was. And I proceeded to tell him that tires exploded and we caught on fire. He just said, love that. And then then later he responded with with his heart rate data compared to mine, because we both wear our Whoop watches or our Whoop wristbands. And he said, why do you think you couldn't get your heart rate down during the stage breaks? And I said, because I was trying to catch up to the pack the whole time. So I was still flat out and I had not caught the pack for like 2 weeks. So I was still trying to catch up. These are the things that we as drivers, me being a NASCAR driver now, we text each other about. Felt like I just had to share it with the folks. And I had a great time overall with AJ Allmendinger. We had dinner Sunday night after the race, had a couple cocktails together.
Love the dinger.
Enjoyed some beverages, enjoyed chatting about the race. Had a wonderful time with him at the Kyle Racing motorhome area after the race. They had made me a special sugar-free cocktail, which was fantastic. And very, very thankful to Matt Collig, Chris Rice, those folks over there. They were very nice to me. So
was Cole Swindell there?
No, he was not. Justin Haley was there as well. Justin Haley had looked at me in the face and said, did you finish? And I said, yes, I did finish. Did not go great. But Justin Haley also thought that I was going to be the first caution. So thankfully, again, proving a lot of folks wrong here, thinking that I was going to be out of the race early or in the yellow flag arena very early.
Well, you remember who his spotter is, right?
Yes, I do remember.
So.
Yeah. One of our friends at the Door Bumper Clear Association, which again, respect everything that they have to say. And now I'm a dedicated listener because I enjoy their opinions on the sport.
Right.
Gotta love racing. One of the only places where you don't mind having a guy ask you, did you finish?
Yeah. There's so many
stuff.
Cars. I actually got to the end
know?
and I was like, wait a second, I finished 34th. How was I not last? And then I realized that a bunch of other people broke down and I was like, perfect. Also, fun fact.
That's awesome, man.
Fun stat that my manager texted me today. It was on this day in 2013 where Kyle Larson made his NASCAR Cup Series debut and he finished 37th. So did we do better than Kyle Larson in my NASCAR Cup debut? Yes. Does that matter at all? Absolutely not. But it is exciting to see.
Hey, it's something to hang the old hat on, and that's all.
Hang in the hat,
right?
Hang in the hat.
All right, you want to drop the random Indy 500 driver on us this week?
Yes. It was funny. I almost thought about doing a random Daytona 500 driver of the week because we had a lot of NASCAR. But then I was like, wait a second. No, let's keep IndyCar fresh in our minds because, again, we're excited for next season. We're ready to get back to the Indy 500.
Still an IndyCar podcast.
There's still a lot of IndyCar in this podcast. And again, I think we can still learn a lot from the NASCAR weekends because it was an amazing experience. But let's go with the 1979 Indy 500. And we are going to the 25th place finisher, John Mallor. Mallor, I
hardly know her.
John Mallor. I had not heard this name before, if I'm honest.
Could it be Mallor, perhaps?
Mallor, maybe it's Mallor, Mahler, maybe a Mallor or a Mauler, not Mallard like a duck. No. John Mallor, I don't know, born in 1936 in Iowa, big Iowa native. Former open wheel race car driver in the USAC and CART Championship Series, raced in the 1970 to 73 and 76 to 81 seasons, 39 combined career starts, including the 72 and the 77 through 79 Indianapolis 500. I wonder what he was doing for 5 years in between those. I'm very curious. Oh, I know what he was doing. He was not qualifying.
That's
So that's a tough situation there.
He was there, not qualifying though.
He was there. But Mallor qualified for the 1971 Indianapolis 500, but was replaced by his teammate who did not qualify, Dick Simon, due to sponsorship commitments. Now, if you don't know the Dick Simon name, then you're probably definitely new to auto racing, because Dick Simon, big recognizable name. Sadly, Mallor had to step out of his car, very similar to what Bruno Junqueira did for Ryan Hunter-Reay in an era where I was alive, which I believe 2011 that happened. So very interesting scenario. Sometimes you got to do these things for sponsors.
Hey man, they're paying the bills, you know.
Exactly.
That's what you got to do. You got a nice little photo. There he is, John Mallor at the 2015 Indianapolis 500, rocking a Hendrick Motorsport
I was there
hat.
too.
Yeah, there you go. That was no, that was not. The next year was the 100th running. Okay, now Mallor currently owns and operates a classic concrete design in Kansas City, Missouri. CCD.
All right, John.
So he's bringing in the bucks with that, and there's big money in the concrete. I'm pretty sure.
Apparently, people need it.
Need concrete. That's right. All right. Good deal. Well, Conor has a Cup Series race under his belt. I have a Red River rivalry under my belt. It's been a full week of IndyCar news. Be sure to follow us again at Speed Street Pod, both on Twitter and Instagram. Keep telling people about this show as we head into the off season. We'll be talking rumors. We'll be talking news, getting ready for the next year of IndyCar racing in 2023. But of course, we're going to be talking about NASCAR racing as well. All forms of motorsport if you're new here. So for Conor Daly, for producer Ben, Joey Mulinaro, we'll talk to you next week on Speed Street.